Hello my friends, the situation with the United States military support and support in general is getting worse. Let me show you this article from Reuters, but it was also confirmed by Financial Times. Donald Trump urged Zelensky to make concessions to Russia in tense meeting, sources say. And concessions means giving up Ukrainian territory, Donbas. Just like that, because Putin wants it and Donald Trump also wants to obtain his Nobel Peace Prize. This information was published by 3 legacy media sources, and they referred to their sources inside the White House administration. And we have the confirmation of that one from European partners and from Zelensky himself. The Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, mentioned that none of us should put pressure on Zelensky when it comes to territorial concessions. We should all put pressure on Russia to stop its aggression. Appeasement was never a road to a just and lasting peace. Indeed, if we check out the history of the Second World War. So as for me, it's also very strange to see what is happening from the White House. Well, not just Trump was pushing Ukraine to give up own territories without any fight. The main adversary, maybe even Russian adversary, was Steve Witkoff. He pushed Zelensky openly. Zelensky already commented on this issue. It was Witkoff who pushed the idea of giving Donbass to Putin. But I think it was not only Witkoff. As it was written before by legacy media, Donald Trump also asked for it. Zelensky here just doesn't want to tell about the United States president openly, because it might potentially harm reputation and further negotiations. The president of Ukraine revealed that it was United States Special Envoy Witkoff who brought up the idea of Ukraine giving up Donbass during their meeting in Washington. Well, Witkoff mentioned during the meeting that there were some of the referendums conducted by Russian side, so maybe Ukraine should give up those territories. Yeah, the territories which were not fully occupied, but Russia conducted their referendums. Especially if we take places like Zaporizhia Oblast, yeah, where the main city is still not occupied by Russia and most of people live. But you know what Russians say? They say that people from Zaporizhia were coming to occupied territories just to vote to join Russia. Complete madness. Well, nevertheless, Zelensky responded firmly, saying that Russia's so-called referendums were a farce conducted after the occupation. Yeah, not only after occupation, but before it. Yeah, still they're not able to occupy those territories fully. The Russians claim they held a vote among their people, but between the invasion and that so-called referendum, 10 years passed, he said. Maybe here he mentions Crimea, where referendum was also illegal because administration buildings, all of them were occupied by Russian Spetsnaz. Then Witkoff referred to the fact that the results of these referendums were written into the Russian constitution. Well, Zelensky replied that if tomorrow Putin adds something else there, are we supposed to give it up again? And if I add 2 Russian regions to Ukraine's constitution, will they withdraw from those territories? Yeah, of course, the answer is no. Putin is just using the current White House administration, which is damn incompetent, in its own favor. I would say it's the most effective Russian weaponry, not military, no, this diplomacy weaponry, which is only possible with the help of Taco and his crazy team. So all of the previous statements about tomahawks, about Ukrainian support, about the Russian economy problems, Russian heavy losses and so on, all of that is just this fog for the real actions of Donald Trump, and the real actions that he is not willing to support Ukraine, that he wants to finish this war as he sees it, and even following the Russian scenario and even forcing Ukraine for capitulation is one of the main scenarios for Donald Trump. At least he pushes Ukraine to sign that capitulation, and to both Russia. Also, Trump added that if Ukraine refuses to sign this capitulation agreement, well, in this case, Russia would just destroy Ukraine. Well, I may say that Russia is already trying to destroy Ukraine for almost 4 years. This winter is gonna be 4 years since the start of this crazy war, and Putin really wanted to win it with limited amount of the forces. He thought that people in Ukraine really support Russia, so he organized this blitzkrieg campaign, which went to a failure for the Russian army and Russian regime itself. And now Putin is basically forced to continue this long-term war, which is exhausting the Russian economy. Little by little, yeah, Russia still may sustain itself for extensive period of time, but with this war, finally, Russia will not manage it. Russia will start to decline, collapse, you may call it different names, but this process is just imminent, and it all happened because of Putin's decision to start the war. Later on the next day on board of the Air Force One, Donald Trump was asked by journalists of whether he pushed Ukraine for capitulation and seized its territory for Russia or not. Well, Donald Trump here lied that he or anyone else didn't push Ukraine for that kind of the decision, but Zelensky's post today openly stated that it was Vitkov who pushed Ukraine. But I'm also sure, judging on 3 legacy media sources, that Donald Trump also pushed Zelensky. So Trump is lying. Oh, what a surprise. Also, the Washington Post released a big article about the meeting. They refer to their sources in the White House once again, and they say that during the meeting with Zelensky, Trump ignored most of the statements of Ukrainian president. Zelensky's points of view were just missed for Donald Trump's remains of the brain. But at the same time, Donald Trump complained about Nobel Peace Prize, that he hadn't received it despite all of his efforts to stop the war in Ukraine, and not only. Yeah, it seems like this guy is really obsessed with this Nobel Prize, but what he does is, you cannot call it peace. He even up to start a civil war in the United States of America. Donald Trump is completely unhinged, and he's well manipulated by dictators, and especially by Putin. By the way, a freaking vice president of the United States of America noticed our bro, Jake Bro, who said that Pete Hegseth showed up to the White House meeting today with President Zelensky wearing a Russian tricolor flag tie. These people love Putin and Russia, and J.D. Vance stated, or maybe he has wearing the colors of America. But if we check out the comments, I think that people, yeah, it's the Russian tie. So basically the same colors go white, blue, red. It is a Russian flag, and it's called Russian plain flag tie. I already mentioned it in one of my videos. So it seems like this MAGA elite, as J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and who else is in their team, they have so much time, so they go to internet, they search some of the comments, they reply, they generate or repost creepy AI videos, and they create this kind of the beef online. They have nothing to do, it seems like, yeah? Instead of ruling America normally, properly, they are out there commenting Jake Bro's posts and many others' posts. Well, after that post, there were lots of the MAGA bots who attacked Jake Bro with crazy comments, as you might see. And also this government-affiliated channel called Jake Bro a weapons-grade moron. An official White House government account just called me a weapons-grade moron. Yeah, White House has a rapid response, and also classical White House, yeah? That's the new stage of the idiocracy of the United States of America. I mean, their government. United States is, after all, a great country, awesome people, but somehow they elected with majority Donald Trump. Now, of course, it is different. People mostly disapprove Donald Trump, and you may check out these statistics or any sort of the other one. Most people are dissatisfied with Donald Trump's action, and we are reviewing the foreign policy, right? His attitude towards Ukraine, Russia, China, and so on. And we see how incompetent Donald Trump in that field, but he is the same incompetent in any sort of the other fields, internal as well. People see it, people disapprove, but even the first year of the Donald Trump's presidency is not yet over. So the more crazy stuff to come from this guy for the next 3 years, but this number will grow, and this number will go down for sure. So the only support Ukraine may get is from the European Union countries, and luckily still the United States of America may sell their weapons, for the higher price than usual, to our European partners, and they may send it to Ukraine. Unfortunately, for the next 3 years, it's gonna be like that. Trump really was shouting at the meeting. He called Ukraine to capitulate, or else he said to Zelensky that Putin will just smash you. We have this quote published by the Washington Post, and Zelensky already mentioned that no matter what someone may say to us, we're not gonna give up territories without any fight, voluntarily capitulate. No, it's not the way how it works. And it's a good thing. Zelensky really shows the strengths to everyone, including Donald Trump. Yeah, Donald Trump absolutely likes that someone kisses his orange ass, but it's not the case with Zelensky. Maybe Mark Rutte, maybe some of the European politicians may do that, but not the leader of the country at war with the biggest nuclear superpower, because after all, Russia has more nukes than the United States of America. So Donny understood that he should go and F himself. Well, maybe he'll prepare for the meeting with Putin, but it will fail as miserable as the last time in Alaska. And by the way, Moscow already rejected the proposal to freeze the war at the current front line. Peskov mentioned it today that position of Kremlin remains the same, that Ukraine should give up all of the territories which are written in the Russian constitution. So Russia still wants to achieve its goal in Ukraine using military forces, but all of that, guys, is just useless. Russia is crawling little by little. According to any sort of the predictions, Russians would need more than 100 years with the same pace to occupy all of the Ukraine. And the goal for Russia is entire Ukraine, not those regions, as Zelensky, by the way, mentioned today, and it is 100% correct that why the biggest country in the world is so interested for some of the square kilometers elsewhere in Ukraine. It is nonsense, and I agree with that. The real reason for Russia is to establish its control over entire Ukraine, and further, Ukraine is just a step for Russia. Putin and his circle, they really want to restore the Soviet Union. That's it. It's their main goal that was already proclaimed. And by the way, Donald Trump was speaking about security guarantees for Russia, but security guarantees were proclaimed by Russia in 2021 for NATO to retreat from the Eastern Europe, entire Eastern Europe, and for Russia to establish its influence, so ruling over the ex-Soviet Union bloc countries. Like, for example, Poland, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, part of Germany, the countries which were affiliated to Russia, or Soviet Union, it's better to say before. But now they're fully in NATO. But Putin demands to turn everything upside down. This guy is nuts. And Trump is also nuts. So they found each other. There are some sort of the lovers, and they push Zelensky for capitulation. But obviously, Zelensky would never ever agree on that. It's nonsense what those old crazy grandpas are telling to our president. Yeah, sorry guys, I have to follow politician news because they touch Ukraine a lot, and it was vivid for me from the very beginning, even before Donald Trump was elected, that this scenario is pretty much possible. So it is happening. No surprise. For many it is surprise, but yeah, not for me. And my friends, thank you so much for continuing supporting me, my job here every day on Patreon membership. Thank you so much. Without you, I'm really nothing. So you make this content possible. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.